Yeah, good afternoon. Hurricane Florence not only affected neighborhoods and river levels, but also impacted the livelihood for many residents in our area. We're talking about the seafood business. So joining us to talk about how Florence has impacted life on the water is Ted Hammerman, also known as the one and only Mr. Fish, and Max Hammerman here, also known as Cousin Fish. Thank you guys for being with us today.
Right.
Kind of walk us through some of the impacts that you kind of have seen from fishermen after Florence.
Well, going in the days before Florence, October is normally a great month for us. And it's not only a great month for us, but it's also a great month for the producers that harvest and grow the shellfish. As soon as Florence hit, it was just devastating. The economic impact was horrible.
Yeah, we were talking
for both parties.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about, just to give perspective, at this weekend is supposed to be the North Carolina Oyster Festival. Explain what's happening with this.
What's happening there, I spoke with Jeff from Lloyd's Oyster, and they're normally the supplier of North Carolina oysters for their festival, and there are no North Carolina oysters. So what's happening is they're bringing in Louisiana oysters, which we brought some here today to show you.
Okay, and that's a huge selling point in the seafood market in our area. Kind of, have you seen sales dip after Florence?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, even now we're still at around 50% versus last year.
Wow, that's a big drop there. So what's happening with seafood restaurant owners? Kind of, what are they doing to improvise? I know you just mentioned they're bringing in oysters from Louisiana. Is that kind of the case for most owners?
Not necessarily. If you're willing to pay the price, there is a grower in McClellanville, South Carolina, and which Max will demonstrate in a minute. And we'll pop it open.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
So there are other avenues.
Yeah, but it's just a means of trying to find those avenues.
That's right.
And you got to do it.
And you're going to pay a little bit more, but it's buy local. It's worth it.
Yeah.
We bring in a lot of Virginia oysters that are being farmed. Okay, when I mean farmed, it's like an estuary on the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean type of scenario.
Now, I know oysters is a big thing in our area. What about other seafood that we typically have in our seafood restaurants in this area? How has that been impacted?
Local shrimp,
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
And the shrimp industry really got hurt. Majority of our shrimp comes from McClellanville or North Carolina. In North Carolina, there's one shrimp house in Varnum Town. I spoke to him yesterday. He just closed it because they're inshore fisheries, especially they also harvest in the intercoastal waterway. It's normally this is the time of year, the fall harvest is very strong.
Yeah, so you guys are in this community, you know this business. Is it fishermen helping fishermen at this time to kind of just stay afloat? What's happening?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The main thing is, again, the economic impact was such that even if you had the product for that 5 to 7 week period that Florence impacted this area, there was no one to sell it to.
Yeah.
And there was no way, the infrastructure, logistics to get a vehicle, refrigerated truck in and out of town, and no, the tourists weren't coming and they weren't spending.
Wow, that's a lot. Puts it a lot in perspective. Some things you don't even think about, how this storm has had an impact on.
Right, and water quality, we're very lucky as far as South Carolina goes, because yes, there was problems in Conway, but you're not harvesting anything to consume there.
Okay.
These areas where these beautiful oysters are coming from, they're not impacted at all. And DHEC checks it daily.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in our second half hour because, like you said, we do have some alternatives for those seafood lovers out there that really enjoy loving and eating that food. So in the second half hour, these guys are going to come back and talk a little bit more about what we can do when we're eating our seafood and making sure everything is safe. For now, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.